guys, Wildrift patch 2.1b is finally here with us, and we've got a couple of big changes, new additions, so let's get to it. In this section, I'm just going to give you the highlights, and then throughout the video later on, we're going to go into the actual details as to what's happening and the various sort of figures. Right, let's shoot it off with the nerfs. Our favourite dragon, Aurelion Sol, is getting a pretty significant nerf. Next up, Yasuo. We knew it was coming, okay? He's getting a slight nerf. On top of that, the Conqueror's rune is receiving a nerf along with the locket. Now, the locket is the item that you upgrade from your boots. Now, onto the buffs. We've got three big ones. We've got Soraka, Tristana, and Ziggs. It should be noted that this patch is also introducing three new champions. That's Leona, Pantheon, and Diana. And to wrap it up, we're looking at new skins. Specifically, we're looking at the project lineup of Ashe, Leona, Vi, Yasuo, and Zed. Now, our favourite dragon, Aurelion, is receiving a couple of nerfs, starting with his passive. The damage is essentially being reduced on all levels, apart from the start, level 1, and 15. I'll give you guys a quick moment to take a look at all the details here. Slight nerf, but do keep in mind that that star damage is essentially the core of Aurelion. Onto his second ability. Celestial Expansion is also being nerfed in the lower levels, and then receiving a slight buff in the last level, that's 15. Again, I'll let you guys take a look at the figures here. And do keep in mind, that ability is the one that expands the stars, his passive, and then essentially supposed to deal more damage. And lastly, looking at his ultimate, the Voice of Light, that's receiving a flat nerf in terms of a cooldown increase. Onto Soraka, her second ability, that's the heal, is being increased. On top of that, her third ability, Equinox, is receiving a slight buff in terms of lesser cooldown. Tristana is receiving just a tiny little bit of a buff. Specifically, they're looking at her mana, and the slow effects of the rocket jump. They're keeping it pretty simple with Yasuo, lowering his base health and then his base armor. On top of that, his third ability, the sweeping dash, they're decreasing the range, and that's pretty much it. It's just getting decreased by 300. Now, Ziggs' tower destroying capabilities in terms of his second ability are receiving a slight buff. On top of that, his ultimate radius is being increased. The locket, the enchantment for the boots, is receiving a price increase of 300 gold from 500 to 800. On top of that, the shield amount that it provides is being decreased at lower levels. And lastly, in terms of the nerfs, we're looking at the Conqueror's rune. They're basically reducing how effective it is. A change, that we're looking at the backdooring system. Essentially, that's when the turrets sort of like lower their defense. They sort of decided to up those stats a little bit, making backdooring a little bit harder. Lastly, there's a lane swap mechanic, or an anti-lane swap mechanic, where essentially they've chosen to implement more armor and magic resistance for towers the more enemy champions there are around them. So if you're planning to team up on a tower, it's likely going to be harder to take it down the more there are of you. That pretty much it wraps up for those patch notes. There is a slight section about chat detection where they decided to, well, they have implemented more phrases and different phrases in other languages to the anti-flaming system. It's not anything you'll notice in-game, and that's basically it. As always, thank you guys for joining. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys have a lovely evening, morning, or night.